You know, they say that life reflects art, and here we have Elgar's trying to cook, and Stuart trying to tell him what to do by reading from a book of instructions. Which is interesting, because in reality, the biggest problem with Stuart is that he only follows instructions when it suits him. And as they both leave the kitchen, Glenn finally returns, which is also a reflection of reality. All Sims in this video are purely fictional, and any resemblance they bear to real persons are purely coincidental. At the start of Glenn's story, he is sad. Glenn is someone who's known for kind of having mood swings. He can be very angry, he can be very sad, he can be almost manically happy, and it's possibly an undiagnosed mental illness. But being a boomer and being from the generation that he is, Glenn doesn't believe in going and getting help or going and getting an official diagnosis. Rather, he tries to self-medicate. Like that time he was posting reels of himself on Facebook, and Stuart had to ask him to take 2 weeks off work. For his aspiration, Glenn has to reach level 5 of the nectar making skill. He has to make 50 excellent quality bottles of nectar, and he has to earn 100,000 simoleons from selling bottles of nectar. Given that his mood isn't great, the quality of nectar he's making at the moment isn't just going to be earning him too much money. But hopefully that will change. Hopefully we'll manage to catch him in one of his more positive moods, and we can start moving things in the right direction. Glenn actually has quite an interesting past. And, well, maybe not an interesting past. He has the sort of past that you would think he would be an interesting person. Perhaps that's a better way to put it. He served in the Navy, he worked in various different jobs, he trained as a chef, he's worked in different parts of the world, and yet he's quite basic. Glenn is the sort of person who thinks that the louder you shout, the more people should bow down and let you have your own way. He's also one of those people who believes in things like chemtrails and any other conspiracy that you can imagine, and typically associate with boomers. That said, something that Glenn is always famous for is his own homebrew, and so the nectar making aspiration should really be the perfect one for him. Somehow, despite the fact that he is a trained chef, when I ask Glenn to make a salad, he makes a watermelon salad, which is basically just some watermelons and some cucumbers or courgettes chopped up and maybe a little bit of a vinaigrette dressing poured over it, and somehow he manages to make that at just normal quality. So I think that really tells us exactly what sort of chef Glenn was. And yes, Glenn is neat. I'll give him that. He does keep things quite clean and tidy, to the point that it's a little bit annoying and excessive. I mean, if you enjoy not being able to breathe air because it's thick with the stench of that pineapple air freshener that he likes so much, but at least he keeps things clean around the asylum. And it actually didn't take long for Glenn to reach level 2 of the nectar making skill and to produce his first bottle of nectar to excellent quality. Selling the nectar was going to take a little bit longer because the best way to do that would be to finally age everything. That way he could get a maximum return and make the money by producing and selling as few bottles as possible. Andy seems to enjoy watching Glenn making his nectar, and it's interesting that Andy and Glenn have become quite friendly with each other, because in many ways, Glenn is the person that Andy will become in the next 30 years or so. A little sad and perhaps terrifying glimpse into Andy's bleak future. A potential lesson, a potential opportunity to change his ways. But will Andy do anything with it? Of course not. With a bit of consistent effort, Glenn managed to reach level 3 of the nectar making skill, and by that point he had produced 7 out of 50 excellent bottles of nectar. This was pretty good progress. The longest part of this aspiration would inevitably be earning 100,000 simoleons from nectar sales. And after even longer spent trudging away in his nectar-making machine, Glenn had created 10 out of 50 excellent bottles of nectar, and he was close to reaching level 4 of the nectar-making skill. As there was only 5 levels of the nectar-making skill, this was good progress on at least one point of his aspiration. Which is saying something, because this is perhaps the first time in Glenn's long life that he's made good progress on anything. Although Glenn was not a hot-headed sim, he was prone to bouts of irrational anger, for reasons such as do not disturb rage cleaning. This was all part of his neat aspect of his personality. He would get irrationally angry, think that he was doing something good, but end up throwing out things that were actually needed. And with even more time spent, even on New Year's Eve, working on his aspiration, Glenn had finally reached level 4 of the nectar making skill, and he had made 18 out of 50 excellent bottles of nectar. And as he continues stomping away, I think we'll leave his story there for today. Join us next time as we pick up with Glenn again, trying to complete his nectar making aspirations, and trying to just generally be a menace to everyone else in the asylum. Thanks for watching. Ailish, why do you keep coming back to the asylum? Ailish just can't stay away. They've been round the back of the asylum building snow people back here. It's quite bizarre. Is that Ailish still back there, shoveling snow now? No, it's not. It's her. Why does she keep appearing in all my save files? She is haunting my game, Naomi Mori. She has been haunting my game since I did my playthrough with Bob Pancakes. She just appeared out of nowhere as a random townie, and every time I start a new household, she's just standing about outside. And I think this is the same save file that I did my Bob playthrough in. If it's not, that's really, really concerning. Really concerning.